Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time! Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayler's gone! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
It is Friday. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle. Hello, how are you? Got a line up for you, as always. Todd Leary joining us. Osterman and Alec Lasley should be along the way on the day. Plenty to talk about as the Pacers are back. We're going to 7 games, baby, as they take care of Oklahoma City in Indianapolis at Gainbridge Fieldhouse last night in pretty resounding form. We'll talk about that, of course, and plenty of recruiting news bouncing around with Indiana, of course, on both sides, basketball and football. Lots of action going on this weekend with the Charlie Hughes, the high schoolers going at it. So, and whatever you guys want to talk about, it's Friday. So pile up from what all happened through the week or what's coming up on the weekend. What are your weekend plans? Glad to have you along, no matter where or how you're listening. Whether it's on whether our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, the Ref, always the right call down in Evansville, or the voice of the region, 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, WJOB, and in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan. Keep it locked right where you have it. You don't need to go anyplace else. Appreciate everybody for joining us. And if you're on social media, you know the routine. Hit the like button and the subscribe button and all that good stuff. There's no cost involved. It's easy. But if you do want to do something good, go to thehoosier.com. Get yourself a subscription there if you want to keep up with what's going on the inside, especially with those great guys like Alec Lasley joining us today. So we'll talk to him about a lot that's going on with Indiana, especially with basketball. The Charlie Hughes is this weekend, so that should be good as well. Yes, Fred, I appreciate you. It is feeling better. My back is feeling better. Appreciate you asking. And Cheryl asked earlier as well. Yeah, go Pacers, man. How about it? It was big win. They dominate last night. Series is tied 3-3. As many times as these Pacers have looked like they are out, they're still not. After they lost that game 4 in which they had at home and could have gone up 3-1, for me, that really changed everything. It just really did. And then, the next game they're on the road, of course, but they go down 3-2 for the first time to be trailing in a series this year. It was just, you kind of felt like it was over. And then when they had a chance on the road, when they were down 18 or however many, and they come back, get within 1, and then just can't capitalize. Boy, then you're like, well, now it's really over. And but they come back last night. They tie it at 6 games. We're going 7. Of course, they'll have to play that last game in Oklahoma City on the road, which is pretty difficult. But I think they'll get it done without question. So, but we'll certainly find out, because that's why they play the games, right? Absolutely. And What do you think the chances are? I mean, they're going to have to play their best game of the year, probably better, as good as they played last night, because they'll be on the road. Yeah, JJ making his 2 minutes count. How about all of them getting tossed? It's just it's been a crazy series. It's certainly been fun. McConnell has been he's there should be a special award for him. I'm not even sure what it would be, but it's something. What award should he get? He is so valuable in so many different ways, and he comes off the bench just as a bench player, but it's something. But most valuable bench player, without question. Sixth man of the year, I guess, is the award. But yeah, he's whew, he does things that you don't see many guys do. He just does. So looking forward, this summer should be a lot of fun for Indiana fans when the TBT comes around. Indiana, after not having a team for so long, they are not only do they have one in this second year, boy, are they loading up. They just announced the newest addition, Juwan Howard. So they're going to have virtually every player having previously played in the NBA. And if they didn't play in the NBA, they've definitely played overseas, like Jordan Hulls, James Blackman Jr., but Yogi Ferrell, Troy Williams. I can't even remember them all now. I think he's the seventh. But let's see, Race Thompson, Al Durham, James Blackman Jr., Troy Williams with Yogi Ferrell. So, yeah, that's going to be a fun team. That will just be fun to watch for fans. You're getting to see some guys who didn't play together play together. Did I say Howard or who? Juwan Morgan, rather. Did I misspeak that? Juwan Morgan, if I misspoke it, rather. But anyway, yeah, Juwan Morgan, the latest to join Assembly Ball, Indiana's TBT team that will be playing, along with Yogi Ferrell, Jordan Hulls, Race Thompson, Al Durham, JBJ, James Blackman Jr., and Troy Williams. It's a pretty good squad that will be fun to watch up there and in a fun place at Hinkle Fieldhouse. What better of a location to go to check that out? And if you haven't been there, well, what are you waiting on? And if you haven't been there, what are you waiting on? No kidding. But seriously, what a great time. If you haven't, especially, what a better opportunity than now to get to go see this team that will be pretty cool to get together. That happens in late July. Talked about that. Then it's a regional there at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Let's take a break. When we come back, the Todd Father from myjumpshot.com will be with us. Lots more coming up on this Friday edition from the Hard Truth Distilling Company, high atop Rack House number 1. We're back with more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. Todd Leary joining us. Where are you joining us from?
Well, currently I'm in the Fresh Time Farmers Market, but I'm waiting on my car to get work done because yesterday was a long day. Had a little mishap yesterday, ran over something and shredded 2 tires about
Oh my gosh.
about 11:30 p.m. So I got home about 2 hours ago. So if I look a little lack of sleep, it was not just because I was watching the Pacers. It was
Gosh.
Yeah.
2 tires. I don't even want to ask. That
I don't
is
even know what I hit. Something
brutal.
with 75 miles an hour.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Out in the road. But that's why people,
Fun day.
if you don't put stuff out in the road, don't leave stuff in the road. Jeez.
That's not
Yeah,
the first time I've done that either.
That's no fun. I've had a flat at a late time at night when I didn't really want one, but boy, 2 of them, you're done.
When you shred 2 of them, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you are definitely in trouble. I did have. I was going to get a horse once and going to Oklahoma and back to get a horse.
Going to see a guy about a horse.
Going to see a guy about a horse in Oklahoma, and on the way back, what I didn't realize it was my an ex-girlfriend's brother's trailer. The axle had like a little bow in it, apparently. Just a little one, not big, but over hundreds of miles. That little bow, it has a wear on a tire, and so on the way back, when I had the horse in it, one of the tires blew, and you had four wheels, just 2 axles and one in front of each other. And one of them blew, and I'm like, I had a spare. I said, all right, no big deal. Took the horse off, put the spare on, put the horse back on, take back off, boom, go on down the road a little bit further. Same side, same place, bam, spare blows out. That wasn't good because no more tire and having a horse. So I took a rope, tied it around the axle, pulled it across as far as I could tighten it, put the horse on that opposite side, and that's how I rolled into right into a roping into Scottsburg. I think I've told that story before. Yeah,
there's probably 18 things that you broke the law in doing right there, but hey, sometimes you just got to get there.
Why does that kind of stuff only happen when you're young too? That kind of stuff only happens when you're young and dumb because
I'm old and dumb.
Well, no, not this kind of stuff. This is different, but all the exploits that we could tell, man.
But with the Pacers winning, it was hard to even get in a bad mood.
Oh, that would not have affected me there, boy. That would have ruined everything. But glad to see you have that kind of outlook. The Pacers outbought them. I was just talking about how many times they have been left for dead, and just you can't kill them. But now they're down to one last. They're like a cat with 9 lives. Well, they're down to their final life as we head off back to Oklahoma City for Game 7 Sunday night.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, yeah, sorry, I got a call and it sometimes screws this thing up. But yeah, the I guess funny thing is they have been written off, like what you said about being written off so many times. Like even in my own mind, like I keep going through such a roller coaster of emotions with, okay, well, yeah, now they're in control of the series, and now they're now they're even. Now they just got to win this, and then they're behind in the series, and you just get to the point where you're like, maybe it's too big of a hill to climb, but they just fight and figure out a way, and that's what I know, and everybody understands. Like everybody understands. We don't know. Everybody understands the NBA would make more money if it was bigger markets, in theory, but I'm not necessarily sure if you can measure that long term that would be the case, because you are creating lifetime memories for two cities that don't have this opportunity very often, in Oklahoma City and Indianapolis. And I mean, think of all the little kids that are enjoying this time down in Cambridge and are just around the whole environment and all that. Like they're Pacers fans for life now. And it's just a cool thing. Like that's the part of it that I think is the most fun. It's worked out tremendously. Like you can't tell me if you'd have had, whomever, Los Angeles and New York in the finals, or Boston, and one of them swept the other one and won in 4 games. You can't tell me the NBA would have made more money off of having 2 big market teams in a 4-game sweep versus this 7-game series of true basketball. People enjoy watching this series. And a lot of them, and I know there are, there's Minnesota Timberwolves fans that don't want to watch. Like I get it. Like I'm a bitter loser too, but there's an awful lot of basketball people that are enjoying watching this entire series, and to have it go Game 7 is just what more could we ask for?
No, and especially teams that have Indiana is, like I said, they've been a team that have been left for dead. That Game 4 when they couldn't win that game, that would have really put them in a commanding position. You're like, God damn, now it's over. And then the following game where they lose again, and now they go down and trail for the first time in a series this year, and you're like, well, it's going to be done. And then they had a chance to win on the road. We thought, oh man, they're down 18, they get all the way back to within 1, but just can't. And then you're like, definitely, it's done now. They're out of gas, and yet they come back last night and force a Game 7, which that puts all of the onus on to Oklahoma City. The pressure is on them, and it depends on how they handle it, because I hate to use the phrase again, but the Pacers are playing with house money.
Yeah, and they are. And like, I think sometimes when you say that, I think it comes across to some people that you're saying the pressure is going to get to them and they're not going to play well. And that's not the case. Like the pressure is not going to make them not play well. That's not an issue. But it does come down to, it's a one game for the NBA title, 1 game for the championship of the whole world. And anything can happen in 1 game. That's been proven not just in this series, not just in these playoffs. That's been proven year after year. March Madness, why we love it, because some 2 seed gets beat or 1 seed gets beat early. Like anything can happen in 1 game. And the Pacers are a scary team to be playing against with that statement being made, because the Pacers can get hot. They started that game out last night 0 for 8, and all of a sudden made 5 out of 6 threes, and go from being down 10-2 to ahead. And that just I know there's other teams that can do that, but the Pacers are scary because that wasn't one guy getting hot. Nembhard made a couple, definitely, but Halliburton made a couple. Nesmith ended up making a couple in the first half. So I mean, they're a scary team because of how many different people you have to stop. And it's not, if I asked you who's the best player on the Pacers, you're going to get several different answers. If I ask you that about Oklahoma City, from everyone that's not last name Holmgren or Williams, you're going to get one answer. And that's the case with a lot of, Brunson and all the, like, you get it. Like, they're just superstars. And we have, I think I used this analogy last week on your show, but for us college nerds that think in college basketball terms, like, Pacers have a whole bunch of really high 4 stars, but no 5 stars. And that's difficult to guard. They gave the stat last night during the game that the teams that use their bench the most, they go the deepest throughout the entire season, 82 regular season games and all the playoffs, are these final 2 teams that are playing. And I think the Pacers bench, I think it probably surprised some people who aren't used to watching them. But boy, who's it going to be? Matherin's been the leading scorer in some of these games. TJ McConnell is just TJ McConnell. He's becoming a household name, and he comes off the bench. So it's just
I was just saying earlier before you joined, I said there should be an award. I said I know there's a 6th Man of the Year award, but he's not just the 6th man. He's something more than that. Last night when was it Chet Holton? Who was it that he got in front of and out rebounded? It wasn't Holmgren. It was the other big dude.
Hartenstein. It was
Hartenstein. And then he was on the ground with somebody. Hartenstein again, I think, and wrestled the ball away. It's just, that kind of stuff. Every time you think you've seen some cool stuff from TJ McConnell, he does something stupid crazy like that.
Well, and Energizer Batteries is missing the opportunity for an Energizer Bunny Award, because that dude would win the Energizer Bunny Award, because he doesn't have any other gear other than full blast. And that just wears on you. Like, that's annoying. And this is a basketball person understands this compliment, but he is and I stress compliment, but he is someone that you hate to play against, and you love to play with.
And there were guys that you played against that were not nearly as good as him that were like that you couldn't stand to play against. But he's one of the guys you can't play against, and he's good.
This is a weird analogy because I'm using Scotty Scheffler, because I use him in so many different analogies now, because he's the #1 golfer in the world, and he has, to say a non-conforming style of play, it would be an understatement. His swing is just weird. But he's easily the #1 player in the world. And TJ McConnell is one of those guys you would think, as a coach's son and, being a little guard his whole life, that he would have perfect shooting style and all that. And he has the opposite. Like, he just makes the ball go in the basket, and he figures out a way. And he finishes around the rim, as well as anyone. And obviously he's not near their height. And that just is fun to watch. And it's fun to watch his energy, like take basketball out of it. Think about it, Jim. When there's some people, when they walk in a room, like, they bring the energy. And to turn it back to basketball, that's what this guy does for the basketball court. He brings the energy every time he walks in the room. And that is something I think almost every coach at every single level will tell you is impossible to teach. But when a guy has it, it affects the whole team in a positive way. And I think that would be the description of TJ McConnell.
Absolutely. And the Pacers have about because they don't have that quote unquote superstar. I know a lot of people think that Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton are superstars, but I still don't put either of them in that superstar category. Not saying that Tyrese Halliburton isn't in that. If they win this series, maybe he gets elevated to that. I don't know. Maybe he goes out and has a Reggie Miller Game 7 and elevates himself to that status. But he on a team that doesn't have a quote-unquote superstar, but a lot of stars, he is just another part of that mixture this Pacers team has. that's unlike anything we've really seen.
There's no doubt about it. They play a style in the NBA that's just different. And I think, if you go back and look over the years, the NBA has it develops and evolves and has different styles that it plays. And, this style that the Pacers have, and I'm just going to simplify it and call it this ball movement style of offense, it's going to infiltrate its way into a lot of other organizations, in my opinion. Like, I think there's going to be teams copying this. Now, the hard part with that is you got to find 7, 8, 9, 10 unselfish players, which is difficult to do in the NBA. You got to find guys who are their main goal is winning, and everybody's main goal when you get to the NBA Finals or the championship or whatever league you're in, everybody's goal at that point is winning. But it's the guys whose goal is winning back in November and back in December when it's tough time and there's not a championship on the line, but you're still doing the little things to make your team better. And the Pacers have a whole roster full of guys who, to some degree, are bought into this is the way we're going to play. And I not only accept it, looks like I enjoy it. And how many other teams have a guy like Obi Toppin that comes off the bench, smile and laugh and having fun, like TJ McConnell? Like, these guys come in and bring the energy. And I think you're going to see a lot of other teams try to take that formula and figure out a way to use their players. This formula would not work in most other organizations, but I think you'll see some organizations move more in this direction.
Yeah, well, it's, we've seen basketball change, college basketball change. We've seen positionless basketball become a real thing at the college, or starting to become a real thing at the college level. Not everywhere. It's some teams are playing that. Indiana's going to be a team that we're definitely going to see that next year. We'll talk about that in the next segment. But we've seen how the game has started to evolve, and that naturally has to filter up to the NBA because that's where these guys end up.
Right.
That's where they get their players. So, the game it changes, and this is probably a way that we didn't really expect to see it change, but we also probably didn't expect to see the talent to grow at the position. Who 10 years ago, who really thought that the centers, the fives, would be so prolific at shooting from outside of the 3-point line?
Yeah, exactly. And that's just the way the game, you used to talk about trickling up, but it also trickles down. In the NBA, the focus became on 3-point shooting. And that has definitely trickled down to the college basketball level, where you had teams like Illinois last year that, they were trying to shoot as many threes as possible, and didn't even have very good 3-point shooters. But, that's the formula that's trickling down, and that's the NBA kind of sets that tone and that standard. And, the NBA as a whole, I think, and they're smarter than me for sure. And I'm from a business side of things, they could probably put some numbers down on paper and say, this is why it's better off to have 2 blank teams in there versus 2 small market teams in there. And, but the long-term effect that I'm not sure you can measure, especially on paper, is what this does for building fan bases and passionate, crazy fan bases. There will be, kids between the age of 8 and 15 years old that will remember these finals for their entire lives. And they'll be Pacers fans. They'll be taking their grandkids to Pacers games. And that's what makes this so much fun and why we get so passionate about it.
And while we're talking about that, and I agree with exactly everything you're saying, Pacers are building fans. The Fever are building fans.
Yeah.
But the WNBA is not, as a whole. They are, as much as say the Fever are going up, and Caitlin Clark and things are going in an upward trajectory, the WNBA as a whole, I'm like, dude, with these fights that are going on constantly, they fight more than the men do. And it's not it's like at first it's kind of funny maybe, but then you're like, no, not. It's starting to become ridiculous because to me it just shows the pettiness that when there's that much going on, when it's that chippy, it's like, okay, there's more to it. That this is not just about the game.
But Jim, think about this, and you're right. I agree with what you're saying. I don't think that the players that are involved in a lot of the players, I should not throw everybody in that category, but a lot of the players in the WNBA don't understand the business model and the benefits that someone like Caitlin Clark, and I'm gonna say like the rivalry between her and Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, and now basically Angel Reese and everybody else. I mean, I don't think that they actually see the value in that. But look at it this way. You know, I have called, and I'm not the only one. Like I'm one of a large group of people that used to call the WNBA and still kind of calls the the NBA, you know, kind of glorified wrestling. I mean, it is kind of, you know, and they let them wrestle and do all this for 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter. I mean, how many people do you know that say, "Oh, NBA game, you only need to watch the fourth quarter"? Like we've been hearing that statement for 40 years. It's not like that's just because of this season or anything that's going on right now. But the WNBA is in kind of its infant stage of development, and they're kind of taking on the same model. Like, who would have thought? Like, I know you kind of used to watch the WWE or WWF or whatever it's always called and all that stuff. Well, when I remember watching it back in the Hulk Hogan days and all that, when they first introduced the first female in doing some of that, you were like, well, that seems weird. Like, I'm going to watch women wrestle and all that. And look what that's become today. And it's kind of the whole, you know, I don't want to get into the political side of things, but it's kind of the whole sex appeal, women out there in that sport playing and battling and competing. It's as much as an entertainment. I think if you look at it from an entertainment perspective, it has a lot more solvency than a business perspective, because the WNBA loses money and has lost money every year. They might turn the corner now, and I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say directly because of Caitlin Clark. Do I think she's the best player in the league? I mean, there's a lot of debate about that or not. Do I think she's going to be one of the best players of all time? She's in that discussion. She's got a long ways to go and a lot of things to prove. You don't get to be that because you're popular, but she does all the things that could put her in that discussion. And so they have a lot of marketability right now, and I think they might fall backwards into it with all the fights and stuff that they have going on, because that is upping the entertainment level. And I don't check out the WNBA highlights that are not Caitlin Clark related very often. But when there's a fight involved, I watch the Sports Center to watch it. Like, so they're creating a little bit of a brand with also and a little bit of entertainment value with what they're doing. Now, I don't think that's intentional, and I don't think they recognize that that's what they're doing. But I think that's why a lot of people will end up watching it even more. But if the league doesn't figure out a way to evolve itself, I mean, I think you heard Coach Stephanie White, if you heard her press conference the other day, basically saying everyone involved in the WNBA has improved since the beginning. The players are better, all of it involved. The only thing that's not better is the officiating. And I don't think she was just saying that mad after a game. I think a lot of coaches and executives in the WNBA would echo those sentiments.
Yeah, there's been a lot of complaints in that regards. But when we talk about officiating, man, officiating has been bad across the board in a lot of ways over the last several years. It's not as good as it used to be, but athletes are faster, stronger. The game is faster.
I don't think it was ever good.
Well, and that shows you how hard it is too, though. Sometimes, though, we look at things and we're like, really? How's that not obvious? And with replay and whatnot. But we've got to take a break, though. So go ahead and finish your point.
Well, no, I'm just saying we could complain about officiating. Like, we could have 8 more segments about that. You want to get me going? Like, just bring that up. bunch of ammo for that one.
Rule changes for college basketball coming next year. We'll talk about that on the other side. We've got to take a quick break. The shot father, Todd Leary from myjumpshot.com is with us. Make sure you go to myjumpshot.com. And for those of you that have kids, nieces, nephews, friends, whatever, great presents to give them for those that improve on their basketball skills. More coming up from the Rick House, number one of the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Back with more right after these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. Hope you are ready for the weekend. We made it. You made it. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. As a matter of fact, how about last night, how incredibly nice that was outside? I was like, man, would have loved to open the windows and doors, but it was a little humid as it that's the thing I can't stand. But buddy, I can tell you one thing that's coming, the 90s, and that starts tomorrow. It's going to jump up. High of 87 today, at least for where I am here in central Indiana and Bloomington. Tomorrow, that's going to jump up by 7 degrees to 94. 95 on Sunday, 95 on Monday, 94 on Tuesday, 94 on Wednesday, 90. Well, it's here, baby. It has arrived. And it's not the heat. As we say all the time, it's that stinking old humidity. And let me tell you, it is a huge difference. Hopefully, Todd coming back here. He was probably moving locations. But Cheryl sent me a picture of a tweet that put out, which I love the picture. That's a great picture of me because my head is turned and you can't see me. But talking about James Johnson with an all-time NBA Finals stat line: 2 minutes, 1 ejection, and 2 ovations. So there's another guy getting it done in a different way for the Indiana Pacers as they try to win an NBA championship, their first ever, on the road. They've been left for dead so many times. Can they do it? We shall see. Hopefully, they can shock the world. They're going to have a swagger about them when they go there because they've got nothing to lose other than the NBA championship. Just no big deal. But the pressure is on Oklahoma City. They're at home. They have been the resounding favorite from the beginning of the NBA playoffs. They were the favorite in every series they played, and they were a resounding favorite over the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers have taken them 7 games and could have had them in peril a couple of times, but we're not able to get that done. So hopefully it will go the way that we'd like to see it go. Can't control that, but All you can do is hope. All you can do is hope. Speaking of hoping, he's back. The shot father, Todd Leary from ijumpshot.com. Hey, Indiana basketball added yet another player in the interim since we've spoken last, but it was another guard, a 6'5" kid from Serbia who has played in the top Serbian league, shot 39% from three. So no doubt he's a great addition. And he's a combo guard, a true combo, plays the one and the two. But you just wonder, it's like, okay, well, where's he going to find minutes to play with all of these other, guard-rich players in front of him on Indiana? I think he's a freshman, so Indiana's going to have a combination of Trent Sisley and the kid from Alexa kid from Serbia that can grow. But I don't know that he can see many minutes on the floor next year because of Indiana is so guard heavy.
Well, I mean, apparently you're making the lineup already and have stuck people in front of it.
I agree.
I know. I'm just making fun of you. But yeah, it's
true.
Look, they have a lot of players to fight for minutes, and that's a good place to be. The only thing I'll say, and I saw the clips, probably the same ones that you and everybody else saw of him, and I'll say this: I think the biggest thing that he brings to this team is what you said at the very beginning of the description, is he's been playing in the top Serbian league, which means he's been playing against grown men for quite a while, and that's a good thing. You remember when you were young, like going and playing against the upperclassmen was sometimes rude, eye-awakening experience, but it made you better in the long run. And if this kid's been doing that for, I played overseas for a few years. Like, I know what that's like. Like, there was a guy on my team that was 40 years old, called him Old Bob. He was just clever. Like, he was terrible. He wasn't a good player, but he was just one of those dudes. He knew how to get position and rebound. He was like 6'8". He knew how to get position and rebound and was just a smart player. And it just been around. He's been playing since he was 10 years old in their professional leagues. So having that experience makes a big difference. And I make fun of you, but I didn't mean it rude.
Oh, I know it's not true, but funny.
But I mean that, we don't have any idea what this roster is going to be. Like last year, we had an idea of, Balo and Renew most likely starting.
We were fooled. I'll be honest with you. We were fooled last year. We were sold a package of goods that either wasn't what it was or it was simply just not put in the mixing bowl correctly.
And and I'm going to go with that second part of it. Like, the thing I'm going to say is I think our team did not reach its potential last year, and we'll just say that.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you're a coach, you should take that responsibility. And if you don't, then you're not in coaching for the right reasons. And so, yeah, I'm going to say our team did not reach its potential last year. Where we sold a bill of goods, I mean, I think our expectations, we're Indiana fans. We admittedly are half nuts. And I mean, it's middle of June, and, one of our segments every Friday is on college basketball still. And so we're nuts. Like, I get it. We accept that we're nuts. But, we also are allowed to make our own, be fans for our own reasons. And we like, with the new rules and recruiting and all of that stuff.
Speaking of which, rule changes in college basketball, Todd, talking about now the coaches will have a coach's challenge, which we need another reason to slow the game down. But now there's a coach's challenge, which I think is just one per game, which to me, it's like, man, for one, it's almost ridiculous, but you have to say that.
This is what I don't understand. I don't understand in an NBA or any league that has challenges. If you continue to win the challenges, so the calls continue to be wrong, why would you ever run out of them? Now, if you challenge something and you don't get it right, you lose. You don't have any more. I get it.
You only get so many challenges, whether they're right or wrong. You just have if you're wrong,
that's what I'm saying.
Timeout, but
that's what I'm saying. How does that make any sense? If you challenge
it doesn't.
and
You're
you
right.
realize that the call was wrong, you should have unlimited challenges as long as you continue
agree.
to win every challenge. It doesn't make
How
any
about
sense.
the call last night? Not to get back to the Pacers game, but they called a foul that was not even there. There was no contact. Well, but maybe what they ended up calling marginal contact on a lower leg, but that was not what the foul was even called to begin with. There was no contact.
There were at least 3 different foul calls in the first half. That's the only part of it I got to listen to. But in the first half, there was at least 3 foul calls that you heard Doris Burke, who doesn't like any other team in this series other than Oklahoma City. But you heard her and Richard Jefferson both say they were phantom foul calls. 3 of them in the first half yesterday. Now, it's obvious Doris Burke is in love with Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. And so, like, she doesn't do, she has to go out of her way to say one positive thing about the Pacers. And even when the Pacers are up by 22 at halftime, she still figures out a way to give a parting shot going into halftime about how good Oklahoma City is. And you're just like, I mean, it's biased that way for sure. But I don't understand. Back to what we were saying with the challenges. If you continue to win, which means the calls were wrong, why would you ever run out of those? That's the part of all these challenges I don't understand. Now, if you lose one, you shouldn't get any more. I get it, because there would be coaches that would just challenge just to be disrespectful, just to mess with everybody.
But if you lose one,
and if you get to do that once, that's fine. But now you're putting them in a position where, I mean, are you going to challenge something in the first half? Because what if you do challenge it and win it in the first half, but you come down to the end of the game and a really, really big call is on the line that you think you could win, but you can't challenge it because you won a challenge in the first half? Come on. That doesn't make any sense at any level. I don't care how much it slows the game down. I'll tell you, I'll watch it as slow as possible. If a coach continues to be able to challenge the referees and they are wrong and they admit that they're wrong, I'll let that slow the game down.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes in this new season, upcoming season, as that will be part of the new change. There's something else, but I don't think it was as consequential as that. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, we shall see. But looking forward to getting a glimpse. We won't get any glimpse of the basketball team until August when they go to Puerto Rico. So it'll be interesting to see how they come together, how they're going to attack things. Games against that Serbian team, that will show a lot. I think that, I don't know if people realize, that is really going to show a lot, because it will show whether this team can play against a more traditional style team, probably, with their setup.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're gonna learn a ton of things in this team being able to go play games, and that's the goal of it. The goal is not to win any championships or do anything, in the summertime. The goal is to get these guys to be able to be on the floor together, and let's see what we've got. Like, I know they're going to have a lot of stuff going on in practice. They're going to get to see all kinds of things through practices this summer and workouts. But when they go play that first game and they put that first lineup out there on the court, that's when Coach DeVries is really going to see what he's working with. There's a lot of guys that are really, really good practice players. But when the lights come on, there's just something about it. Like, they just are not as edgy as they are in practice. And sometimes it's vice versa. Some guys are not good practice players, but when the lights come on, they're just there. They make the plays. And, I think that's what they'll find out with this team being able to do this summer stuff. Coach DeVries has an opportunity to see, his whole new roster and how they meld together in real action. And that's invaluable. You can't put a price tag on how big that is for them.
This weekend, the Charlie Hughes goes on up in Carmel, so
Awesome
there will be a lot more basketball up there. What's your experience has been with that?
I mean, it's fun. My kids all played in it. It's a cool event. You get all the school teams. The month of June is school ball, in the state of Indiana, pretty much everywhere. And that's just a good opportunity to go see these teams play. Is it the best basketball in the world? Most of the time, not, because, you know, you got coaches trying to develop some of their younger players in their programs and at the high school level and all that. So sometimes it's not the best basketball, but it's an awesome experience. And when you're a basketball junkie, it's fun to go watch. You know, Fishers is a great team. Jeffersonville's a great team. They've had great seasons. Those teams are fun to go watch, and you know, other teams get to go put themselves up against them and see how they fare. And so, yeah, it's an awesome event. I think by far, you know, one of the best high school summer run events in the country.
Yeah, and we'll get a full report from the Hoosier.com guys, and actually Alec Lasley will be with us next, and we'll talk about that as well. But well, brother, what's coming up for you this weekend? Last weekend we got to what an incredible U.S. Open you got to watch. How about that?
Fun.
How about that finish?
Oh,
and
man. It was awesome.
What you want to talk about winning a game? This is not. I guess it would be winning a match going away, but JJ Spahn, 5 bogeys. First of all, anybody? How would you like? I don't know what the betting line was on him after he made 5 bogeys in a row to win, but boy, would you have liked to have dropped a dime on that?
No kidding. Yeah, for sure. It was an awesome weekend. And you know what? Like, to be selfish, all of us as fans, to be selfish, like that was even more one of the awesome things of having yesterday, because now we get to be excited all weekend long for a Sunday night NBA Game 7 finals that the Pacers are in. And just, I would watch it no matter who was in it, but to have the Pacers in it, I mean, I got chills and goosebumps right now just saying it out loud. So it's just fun. Like, what an awesome
The only thing that would make
for.
this better is if ESPN did not have the broadcast, because let me tell you, it is freaking awful.
It's brutal.
The halftime, I don't even watch. I'm like, yeah, nope, I'm out. No Stephen A for me. Sorry, can't deal with him.
And it's not he might be the least annoying person on that panel. And he's
somewhere.
And he's annoying as hell. But he might be might be the least annoying guy up there.
And that's saying something.
I honestly believe he believes what he's saying. I think the other people go with the wind. They just say whatever they've heard somebody else say. They're all full of crap. It's a terrible broadcast. You are correct.
It is. The Shot Father, Todd Leary from myjumpshot.com. Kids, nephews, nieces, whatever. You need to get them better in the game. Send them to myjumpshot.com. Appreciate you, my friend.
Send 2 tires with them, too.
2 tires and a little man to do it.
Yeah. See ya. Thanks.
See you, buddy. Lots more coming up from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com joins us next, fresh off of getting an exclusive interview with Indiana's newest basketball player. We'll talk about that and much more on the other side.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Hey, welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday, heading out to what looks like it to be a nice weekend. It's going to be a warm one, but Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com with us. And again, congratulations, Alec, with an exclusive interview with Alexa. What's his how you say Alexa's last name?
Ristich.
Alexa Ristich, Indiana's newest basketball player, the Serbian. Alec spoke with him and got the lay of the land and a great piece on the Hoosier.com, where you can go sign up for and get a great deal right now. $1 for the first month, 50% off your first year. Get that while it lasts. And let me tell you, that's the place to go to get the latest and the best information. There's so many in articles, whether it's basketball, football, it's incredible. It's hard to keep up with, but lots going on this weekend. Congratulations on getting that as well. What was your take in your conversation with him, Alec?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, so to kind of give a little bit of a backstory, this, Ristich had the same agent as Zerno, the previous IU commitment, obviously with the previous staff, so nothing related to Darren DeVries and this staff. So
and Zerno has ended up at Rutgers, I believe, right?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
So Indiana will see him.
Yeah, absolutely. So the agent, already had kind of the lay of the land from being on campus, right? So he knew what Bloomington was like. He knew what Indiana was like, what the fan base was like. He was drawn to Indiana to begin with. So it was an easy sell, but this kind of came together all within, I would say, about 72 hours. There was an initial conversation that then kind of pushed into mutual interest, and Indiana's still obviously looking for two spots at that point. Still up in the air on what will happen with Luke Goody and Anthony Leal, so they needed to continue to move forward. But Ristich is a phenomenal shooter. He's good size, can play both on and off the ball, but shot 39% from three this season. In 19, 20 games there. So making about...
That's against some pretty high-level competition.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a top league in Serbia. So you have a lot of really good international talent that comes out of there. He's played with some of the same guys who have now made the jump to the college ranks over the last year and this season. But shot about 40%. He shot about 40% over the course of his professional career over there. But a guy who can play both on and off the ball, has good size, can create his own shot, can shoot off the ball as well too. So, he's a guy that kind of fits exactly what, Indiana wants as a backcourt, which is, versatility, ability to, again, be a scorer and a playmaker, both. And Indiana's going to play numerous ball handlers, that'll be on the floor at all times. So he's going to be able to find his way somewhere. Just a matter of, how frequently he sees the floor. It's probably not something where, he's going to see a lot of minutes as a freshman, but he's a very, very good, player to have kind of in the back end of that rotation. If there is an injury, if there is foul trouble, right? Someone who can come in and play some of those spot minutes if need be. But, he accounted for nearly 30% of his team's assists last year. As well, and at over a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. So you can see kind of his versatile skill set there with his ability to play both on and off the ball. We're told he's going to be playing in the European Championships this summer, and then will be arriving in Bloomington in late July. But we'll be with the team. We'll practice before they go to Puerto Rico. We'll be with the team in Puerto Rico, and we'll play when they are down there. So he's excited to get to campus. He knows about the brand of Indiana. He knows about, what now this system can provide, and more specifically the player development that was told to him by the coaching staff and then by his agent. And it's a good match for again what Indiana was trying to fill brings a little bit more versatility than what you would have gotten with either Luke Goody or Anthony Leal in terms of what potentially they could be bringing back. So now you kind of turn the page and look to what I would assume is somewhat of a developmental big, which we've talked about numerous times, that they would probably be looking to fill that last roster spot with, if things obviously don't go their way, more so with Luke Goody than Anthony Leal.
Yeah, I don't know that they do either way, to be honest with you. I don't see I don't see Anthony Leal getting an extra year. And Luke Goody's is on thin ice because of he played at the end of that season. So we'll see. And even if they got one or both of them, boy, you're out of room almost. Definitely virtually out of minutes on the floor, because you have so many guys that are 1, 2s, or even 3s that I don't know with the additional Riskic. I mean, we're looking at I don't know, half the team is probably a 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at it too, right? A lot of these guys are interchangeable, and you have 3, even 4 spots, right? If you want to stretch Tucker DeVries to the 4, which he'll play at some point, because they're going to go smaller. And again, this is not to beat a dead horse, right? But this is an entirely different system than what we've seen in the past. So, you're going to have to get used to multiple guards on the floor. And I think that's the best way to win in college basketball nowadays. You can have a very productive front court, but the more guards, the more shooters, spacers, and playmakers that you have on your roster, have on the floor, it is going to be the recipe for success. And that's what Indiana's trying to put together here. Now, obviously, we'll see how they all come together. But a lot of guys from 6'4" to 6'7", that's a good thing to have, especially when you have so much space to operate with all those guys being very good, very, very strong shooters. If they weren't shooters, right, and if they weren't playmakers, then this roster wouldn't make sense. But because they have that skill set, and the majority of these guys really do complement each other on paper, right? That's the key thing right now on paper, that you're probably set up for a much better, kind of consistent offensive flow every single possession, because you have so many different guys who can go there, be interchangeable, so many different rotations. It's just a matter of, how they all fit together throughout the rest of the summer and getting into the season. But you're not going to be stretched for players. You're not going to be stretched for different rotations. And I think that's the good thing in comparison to what, Indiana's had the last decade, where you only had maybe 2 or 3 guys deep at the guard position. You only had 1, maybe 2 true ball handlers, right? And you were very, very top heavy from a front court perspective that didn't have a lot of versatility. So you kind of break down all of that, reverse it, and go with a lot of versatility, a lot of depth at the guard positions, and maybe not as much depth in the front court, but you're able to offset that with the different skill sets that these guards and perimeter players are going to bring.
And the fact that he's playing through those championship finals, which I think is fine. I think that he'll get a ton out of that as a player, and that will only make him better. And that just makes me wonder all the more. While I've seen several years in a row, and it happened again this year with Malachi Moreno, that he couldn't even. He was only allowed to play in 1 of the 2 Indiana-Kentucky All-Star games, because his quote-unquote responsibilities to Kentucky began that next day. I find that utterly ridiculous that he couldn't have played in a freaking All-Star game. They've done that before, and it just blows my mind that you would take that away from somebody, although maybe it's not that big to him. Maybe I'm making it out to be bigger than it is, but it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's all, every event, everything is different. I think obviously, right, with an international player playing, for a national team that he's already played for, right? He's not just like a back end of the rotation guy. He's a very pivotal piece to that U20 team. That means a heck of a lot more to those international players specifically, right, to play in those events. And especially when you've already said that you're going to be playing, make a commitment late here. Again, you're not seeing a lot of commitments for the upcoming season in June, right? Because most of the guys are already on campus, or they're, maybe potentially playing for, USA basketball when it is those type of summers. But outside of that, you really have, everyone on campus already. So it seems to be quite a different type of event. But Malachi Moreno also was playing in USA basketball for the training camp this week. Tweaked his ankle a little bit, I think it was, but our friends at KSR had talked to him, and that he basically said that he just kind of wanted to shut it down, not try to make the team, and go get back on campus in Lexington and get ready for the season here. So every player is going to have a different perspective on it, and I think that's a good thing, right? But yeah, certain ways that the schedule is put together limits a little bit of how the players can kind of be stretched to the different events that they want to play in.
Indiana recruiting has been extraordinarily busy with visit after visit. In addition to that, we had the Indiana team camps last weekend. A few players there that were being watched, none more than Jason Gardner Jr. I was standing next to Coach Darian DeVries a lot during any time that Fishers was playing. Coach DeVries was planted right there next to the under the basket, and just leaning on the padded stander for there, and making sure Gardner saw him play. I don't see anybody having a shot at getting Jason Gardner away from Arizona because his dad is an assistant coach there. But I guess there's always, you never know.
Yeah, Indiana's making it known that they want him there. They've been kind of front and center at every single event that he's been at. The coaches have been allowed to go to. Multiple coaches deep, right? We'll see it again this weekend, starting today at Charlie Hughes, where the Indiana coaches are expected to be at, and Darren DeVries will be there a couple days this weekend as well. So you'll see them watching Jason Gardner again. But he's a guy where, I don't necessarily think it's just a shoe-in to go to Arizona. I think Indiana is definitely a team that is right there. Obviously still a long ways to go in this recruitment, as just being a 2027, right? So has still some time left before he will make a decision. And it's not one that's probably going to come anytime soon. After you kind of get through this 2026 cycle, he's a top, 30 player in the country. He was a standout at the Pangos All-American camp a couple weeks ago. So, he's getting a lot of national recognition, as he should, because he's one of the most talented guards, and he's done so ever since his freshman year. So it'll be interesting to see where he lands up, but he's not going to have any trouble finding a spot. And I don't think it's going to be necessarily a true shoe-in just for Arizona.
Well, we'll certainly find out how that goes, but a lot going on this weekend. Let's take a break, and we'll talk about what to expect from the Charlie Hughes and what else is going on with recruiting for Indiana basketball. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com with us. And, hey, congratulations on getting that exclusive interview with Alexa, by the way, or Alexa Riskic. Great job on that. And that's the kind of coverage you get at thehoosier.com. That's why you should go sign up now. Why you can get it $1 for the first month, 50% off the first year. We're back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. Glad to have you along. Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com with us as well. Big weekend up in the Carmel area as the Charlie Hughes basketball tournament going on. Lots of targets there to Indiana we'll be looking at, watching. Jason Gardner Jr. from Fisher's one of those we spoke about. You got Isaiah Hill from Pike High School, a 6'10" center. Indiana will be looking at as they've got a lot of centers on their radar. So that's not going to be, what you're seeing this year is not necessarily going to be the exact formula going through in the future, I don't believe.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Isaiah Hill's one of these guys, though, specifically, to the in-state class here in 2027. Super long, super versatile, tremendous shot blocker, one of the best in the country so far in that 2027 class, leading the EYBL in blocks per game. So he's a guy who really is kind of one of those that you have to target and you have to go after hard, because you don't find that shot blocking ability anywhere. And it's not something that just kind of pops up out of nowhere. So he's a guy that you definitely have to prioritize and being in your backyard, the Pike Center there. So it'll be good to, see how he gets through this kind of now new transition in the high school month here, where June is strictly kind of put in place for high schoolers to get viewed after a very, very successful first couple sessions on the Nike ULVL circuit. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out this weekend. But yeah, Jason Gardner, obviously a guy that we just talked about, who's going to be highly sought after. You have Landon Lampley, Caleb Coolman, Noah Washington, a couple 2028s there that Indiana's looking at. Noah Washington, a guy
how about Pike next year? I mean, They have to be a team to look out for. You've got Isaiah Hill at center at 6'10", and Landon Lampley, a 6'5" wing, who is also one of the best in the state. Pike is going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they have a really good roster, and it's going to be exciting to see them go through this summer now, with a lot of these guys now getting a lot of national recognition and at least regional recognition too. So see how they play together. But it's going to be a good time. Like I said, Darren DeVries is expected to be out this weekend. Drew Adams will likely be there. Nick Norton as well. So we'll get a lot of good FaceTime here with the Indiana coaches being, again, courtside, and more specifically, right, head coach Darren DeVries being courtside for a lot of these players and getting involved early. You have a couple other events going on out in DC, Philly, Kansas City as well, where the Indiana coaches will be at. Some obviously key targets that'll be playing in those events, again, at the high school level. And we have all that over at the Hoosier.com, where the coaches will be, what those schedules look like, and obviously have full coverage of all of that this week. And we'll be out starting today, and then through Sunday at some of those events too.
And then last week at the team camps, the only assistant coach that I didn't see, I saw there Drew Adams and Kenny Johnson and Nick Norton. Didn't see Rod Clark, but that's because he was busy, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, they were, he's taken the charge and leading that Sammy Jackson recruitment. The 2026 guard is making his decision this upcoming week on Wednesday. was on campus last weekend. So obviously a very, very busy week. I mean, they had a huge stretch of, visits here with 3 over the last 5 days. So a very, very critical time, and, closing in on potentially landing, the first commit of the 2026 class. Sammy Jackson goes to Texas this weekend. He's visited St. Joe's and visited VCU, and then obviously Indiana. This is going to come down to Indiana versus Texas. Indiana, did a very good job of doing what they had to do, answering all the key questions, laying out the vision of what their system looks like. Sammy Jackson, a 6'7" perimeter player, but a guy who's much better with the ball in his hands, a very good distributor. He's a guy who wants to play, more at that point guard position. So it's all about how the system is going to be laid out for him, which I think will be the ultimate reason for him picking either Indiana or Texas. Both obviously have, with Darren DeVries, right, a system that has a lot of guards and a lot of playmakers. Texas, obviously under Sean Miller now, but his Xavier teams, and even going back to his Arizona teams, right, have always had, very, very talented guard play as well, especially with Xavier here. Most recently with, 3 pretty good ball handlers and shooters on the floor at all times. So that's a critical recruitment that'll be ending first, and then going to Latrell Almond, top 25 forward who was on campus middle of the week. That is a recruitment that Indiana did a very good job of laying out what he can do at Indiana. The brand answering a lot of the core kind of staples of what he was looking for. Brought his entire family. This was a recruitment that Indiana was jumped in on very quickly with the Kenny Johnson connection. Rod Clark also recruited him a bit while he was in Tennessee. So the assistant coaches got heavily involved quite early in this, offered him in the first live evaluation period in May, got him to commit to a visit date right after that offer. And it's the only date that is currently on the schedule. LSU, Rutgers, Oklahoma State, the 3 other teams that are really in there right now. Alabama just offered, and then Kansas is another team that could potentially try to move in quickly. But Indiana's done a very good job in this recruitment in such a short period of time because of that, specifically Kenny Johnson connection, and then Rod Clark, obviously connection as well. So that is one where if you're able to land one of those 2 or even both of them to start here, that's a phenomenal way to get going in the 2026 class when you have a 4-star guard, a guy who's pegged to be a multi-year player. Obviously with the transfer portal, right, multiple different factors can come into play, but a guy who could be the backbone of your backcourt here moving forward, and a very versatile player as well. And then Latrell Almond, a guy who is very, very perimeter oriented as a 4-man, can shoot the 3, can put the ball on the floor, has done a phenomenal job in what we've seen this spring and early part of the summer of being able to beat defenders off of the dribble. Has been a standout at the NBPA Top 100 camp, which is a very, very strong field every single year, which was 2 weeks ago, and is now looking to potentially make a decision here coming up. But we'll see kind of what that timeline looks like. We'll see if there are any visits that do come up here relatively soon. But Indiana is setting themselves up for success here early in the 2026 class. Luigi Siogo, 7'3" Italian center, was also on campus. That came out very quick. Obviously an international guy. If he's going to be in the States, you want to take advantage of that. It's not easy to always get them over here when you want them. And he was visiting Purdue. Obviously an easy trip to make it to Indiana. But there has been some whispers about him potentially going to 2025. He will, talking to multiple people, he will stay in the 2026 class. So that's something that, Indiana's recruiting him for 2026. So, he's not one of those potential big man names that could be joining in the 2025 class. At least, at this point, they're recruiting him for 2026.
For our Southern Indiana listeners, one of a player of note
who is off into the future yet in the class of 2028, but getting lots of attention. Noah Washington, a 6'6" guard from New Albany, of course, he's going to draw a lot of comparisons to Romeo Langford eventually. I haven't had that much or seen or heard of that much yet, but his only offer right now, Purdue. Of course, Purdue trying to get in early with him, but he seems like he's the real deal and going to be a player that develops into something that Indiana is going to be interested in as well. A little surprised they haven't gotten more involved there.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's 2028, right? So they're focused right now on 2026. They have seen him multiple times already, multiple coaches. They'll see him again this weekend. And he's a guy obviously in state, so they have multiple different times that they're going to be able to see Noah Washington at least over the next year, getting into the high school season as well. So I wouldn't be too worried. I expect Indiana to be pretty involved in that recruitment once we get to that point. Once we're talking about 2027 and 2028 kids from a intent perspective of looking to make a commitment. But yeah, as of right now, right there, the priorities are on the closing in on the 2026 class and really starting to prioritize a lot of those 2027 kids and making sure that they start getting some of these early offers out so they can start building those relationships. And I mean, you've seen it already with some of the 2027 offers that have been out, especially in the state. They want to make it known that they want the top players in Indiana to play at Indiana, and the 2027 and 2028 class definitely have some really talented top 100, top 150, very, very good, multi-year, even some potential, 1 or 2 year guys who should be coming up here over the next couple of years. And Indiana wants to obviously make sure that they do not leave their backyard.
Indiana also with a big visit earlier in the week. You were talking about the visits, but one of those was Latrell Almond. How did that visit go?
Yeah, no, I mean, it went very well. Like I said, they did a great job of laying out how they want their versatile forwards to play. And he's a guy who has a very versatile skill set from his ability to shoot the ball, put the ball on the floor, play in the post, but he's not a traditional post up back to the basket guy. He's done a phenomenal job again with the relationship that Kenny Johnson has there, bringing that from the DMV area, bringing that to Indiana, and got Indiana involved right away with that recruitment. If you're looking at a couple schools, like I said, that are potentially schools to keep an eye out for, Bama, Alabama, and Kansas. We'll see if they make a run here at him. But outside of that, I mean, Oklahoma State is probably the other school that has some very good connections with an assistant coach, and then also Rutgers, I believe, was his first offer, so that's always going to hold some weight. And LSU is trying to kind of break in there, but I don't know truthfully how serious that interest is on both sides. So I think Kansas and Alabama, like I said, are the two that you have to keep an eye on. But Indiana's positioned themselves very, very well pre-visit, and then positioned themselves well post-visit with Latrell Almond.
Yeah, several offers out for Indiana, and we will keep up with. I mean, I'm thinking like 26 offers right now out for Indiana over the various positions: point guard, center, forward, small forward, center, however, whatever you want to call it. But definitely with the offers out there, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And before we kind of jump on to the next topic here, I mean, Prince Alexander Moody, a guy that we haven't really talked about a lot. The next visit, the last visit here this month, that'll be middle of next week when he'll be on campus. Another DMV guy, another Kenny Johnson connection. But Indiana feels, again, going pre-visit, right, feels very comfortable about where they're at in this recruitment. A guy that relationships matter. Relationships very much are a lot that have to do with assistant coaches and how they can, really get into recruitments and get in quickly and get in deep. And Kenny Johnson, it's a name that we continue to talk about. Obviously, Indiana fans know him very well. But his relationships in Virginia, DC, the Maryland area, right, the whole DMV area is something that is going to have Indiana deeply, deeply involved in a lot of East Coast recruitments for the majority of, this tenure and this era. Another guy, Jordan Smith, top 5 guard in the class of 2026 out in D.C. Another guy who is looking to make an Indiana visit, he told On Three's Jamie Shaw this week that he will definitely be taking a visit to Indiana. They're just looking at different dates. It's probably going to come in the fall, though, after Peach Jam, after you kind of get through the AAU season. So look for that, probably in September at some point when you kind of get that influx of additional visits during football season once school's back, obviously in full swing, when you get a lot of those big-time names on campus.
Yeah, and it's great for fans to get excited over the recruiting, because recruiting is without question going to take a big jump for Indiana under Darren DeVries and his staff. I'm more than confident of that because of the guys they're recruiting, how they're recruiting, and more importantly. But also, there's only so much excitement because the rest of the team has to be developed through the portal from now on. I mean, it's the recruiting, I think, is about a third of your roster each year, and then the other 2/3 are either guys that stayed or through the portal. So it'll be interesting to see how that mix continues, man. What is up next for you at thehoosier.com, where you guys have been killing it, by the way?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously we'll be out on the road starting today, covering the live evaluation period. So live notes there. Right now, we on the message boards we have full breakdown of where the Indiana staff will be this weekend. Some key targets to keep an eye on, and obviously football recruiting never stops as well. So Zach's been doing a tremendous job for us covering the football recruiting side of things, and has a lot of really good stuff coming up as well. A lot of visit recaps, offer recaps, looking at key targets here to wrap up the 2026 class. And then we'll obviously have a very important non-Indiana visitor this weekend, but Luke Fahey, the 4-star quarterback out of California, visiting Ohio State. The top target for Indiana right now, if he gets an Ohio State offer, that's going to kind of murky the waters a little bit, and we'll see what happens. But if he doesn't, and if he leaves Columbus without an offer, it looks like Indiana should be in a good spot. Never going to call it before any recruitment ends, but Stanford, the other school there. But a lot of talk is relying a little bit on this Ohio State visit. So critical couple days here coming up for the Indiana football side, and then we'll have obviously full coverage of that after that visit and where things stand, because likely a decision will come shortly after that, depending on what happens this weekend.
And in addition to that, you can get complete video breakdowns from Coach Griff on each Indiana commit as they come along up there. So something you don't get anywhere else as well. Man, great job again. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Jim. Have a good one.
You bet. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com. Make sure you go subscribe now. Only $1 for the first month and 50% off the rest of the year. If you want to know what is going on, who's doing what, who's getting recruited, who is accepting, and all of that, the inside information as well, thehoosier.com has it. More coming up from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studio. Zach Osterman should be able to join us. We're back with more right after these
Andy
messages.
Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best
craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. I hope you enjoyed your week, made it through. If not, you're here, baby. You've reached the end. It's finally Friday. And decent weekend in front of us other than the heat. Hopefully you won't have to do too much. And it's not so much the heat, the humidity, man. It's going to feel like it's even a lot warmer than it is. But hey, that's summer. And so when it's 12 degrees back during the wintertime and you're wishing for the opposite, remember, this would be the opposite. Great segments with Alec Lasley there from the Hoosier.com, letting us know exactly who, what, when, and where the coaches are going to be this weekend, who they're going to be watching, what the situation is on that. And then, of course, we didn't have a show yesterday, so we'll get caught up with Coach Griff again and Zach Browning and on IU basketball next week as they continue to do it as well, man. So I cannot tell you how much fun it is to cover as a reporter winning programs. It makes such a huge difference because when you cover someone week in and week out, and before when BC, Indiana football BC, and that would be before Signetti, we all know what it was like. And it's hard to not be positive, but not be negative, because it's not about being negative, but it's about just being honest. And if you're honest during those times and telling the truth, it's not good. So if you're during those times just being positive, then you're not being honest, because if it was that good, you wouldn't have to look. But the fortunate thing is that's not the case now. It's nothing but positive. And the opportunity that lies before for Indiana athletics is incredible for fans to be able to enjoy a successful football and basketball campaigns. Crazy. Who'd have thunked it? But it is a reality, and I cannot wait to cover IU football this year. I am looking forward to them being maybe better, not only as good, but possibly better than last season. I think that the offense is going to be a little bit more electric. I think not that it wasn't great last year. Obviously, my gosh, they had one of the top two offenses in the country all season long. And I think that's going to be the same, but I think that there's going to be a little more electricity with Fernando Mendoza. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star, IU beat writer, joining us now. Alec, I know it's been a rough start today. Rough start for everybody. Todd Leary ran over something, had two flat tires, and that was last night. That happened late at night, I think, after he watched the Pacers game or something. So, and that no fun there. And then everything, and then life issues that just happened that just slow life down. So I hope it's getting better. But you've got your Braves. That must be one of the alternates. What color is that? A gray with black?
No, this is an old 80s Dale Murphy jersey.
Ah, very cool. Very cool. How has your week gone otherwise than having a rough Friday?
Good. Actually, we were in Atlanta for most of the week. I just got home last night, so been taking some time off, which has been nice.
Did you get out to any Braves games?
We did. We got to the game on Sunday. They lost to the Rockies, but we ate lots of ballpark junk food, so we're doing fine.
Well, that's always a good thing to do. Something I saw earlier, which you may not be completely up to speed on, but with the House case settlement finally approved, and even though there are some people suing, which I think most of that is ridiculous, irrelevant of that, Michigan is trying to enact legislation that would, in part of which, prevent NIL deals from having to be reported to the NIL, which that is for a clearinghouse to make sure that these deals are all above board. What are we doing here? We're finally trying to get some guardrails, and now we've got individual states, once again, that are going to throw a wrench into things.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, there's a Title IX aspect to this, which I think right now, and I'm not enough of a Title IX expert to be able to, kind of handicap a lot of this from a legal perspective. But as best I sort of understand it right now, the expectation is that the Title IX elements are probably going to be more directly applicable to the settlement. And people have forgotten, because everyone has sort of conflated House settlement with revenue sharing. But the settlement itself is a either 2.4 or 2.6 billion dollar settlement, backdating basically lost wages or unpaid wages to athletes beginning at the beginning of the careers, the college careers of the athletes that brought the suit in the House case. So it's something like 2016 is how far it goes back, and athletes can apply for a portion of their portion of that settlement. Again, this was like controversial for like a week, and then it just got swamped under by everybody obsessing over revenue sharing and NIL. That the smaller conferences are going to have to pay a certain percentage of this, and their argument is basically that while the Big Ten, the SEC, the NCAA, et cetera, are paying more raw money, the money that these smaller conferences are going to have to pay is going to be a lot more costly on a percentage basis or as a proportion of their annual revenue take, and that basically the small conferences are being saddled with too much of the burden here, when it's the big conferences that were making the money that wasn't getting kicked back to the players. All that just kind of got, just sort of swept under the sort of revenue sharing NIL aspect to all of this. But the Title IX piece of it, at least as I've sort of seen experts talking about it thus far, is likely to apply more to the settlement. And that's to athletes that cannot benefit from revenue sharing because their careers are over, who fall within the settlement timeline, or whatever the legal term is. If you're ever you get an email and say you may be subject to compensation due to a class action lawsuit against some company because they lost a bunch of your data in a privacy breach, and you have to, and it was, if you were a customer of that company between this date and this date, you may apply to see if you are eligible for compensation under the terms of this settlement. That's what that piece of it is. And people have kind of lost sight of that, and they shouldn't, because that is a 10-figure number. That's $1 billion number that's going to be bled out of conference distributions, NCAA distributions. It's going to have a meaningful forward-facing impact on the finances of college athletics. But for the purposes of this conversation, the Title IX stuff and a lot of the lawsuits, at least the ones that, and again, I've been out of kind of of pocket for the last few days, but a lot of the ones that I've seen filed have dealt more with the lawsuit rather than the forward-facing practice of revenue sharing. The first real legal test for the wider question of the settlement as it pertains to moving forward was always expected to be the clearinghouse. And basically the idea, the question, which someone's going to sue to make a court answer, of whether or not the NCAA, through its NIL clearinghouse apparatus, has any right to declare what an athlete's, the term we've all become familiar with is fair market value is. So basically, the point of the clearinghouse is, let's use a recent former IU athlete, Trace Jackson Davis, enters into a $1 million annual NIL deal with, one of the big car dealership, sort of empires in Indiana. And the agreement calls for a small handful of public appearances, some social media posts. Trace will, pose with the new truck that he gets, that kind of thing. The way the clearinghouse is supposed to work is Trace has to take that, anything over $600 in value has to be submitted to the clearinghouse. Deloitte will then apply this fair market value analysis and basically say either A, the money being paid here for services rendered is fair and is in, sort of in alignment with this athlete's fair market value. I keep putting that in quotes because that is the term that's being used. Or B, it's not. It's inflated. He's getting too much money for services rendered. This is not a legitimate business deal. And at that point, the clearinghouse has the right under the settlement structure to reject it and to say, no, that deal is not allowable. And if you enter into it, there will be penalties, a la what there would have been 10 years ago, recruiting violations, things like that. Well, the argument is, what right in a free market economy does the NCAA or any apparatus that it creates have to say what Trace Jackson Davis's fair market value is? And there's been this push and pull. So the power conferences have endorsed this agreement that schools, they're sort of pressuring schools to sign that say, we are going to act in compliance with the clearinghouse and all the structures and rules and procedures around the clearinghouse. Even if we are in a state that has passed a law like the one you mentioned, and there are a few states that have kicked this around, I think Tennessee has too, a couple others, basically passed laws saying the clearinghouse has no power. Because remember, if we think back to the beginning of NIL, as you would imagine, states' laws obviously supersede NCAA policy. So what this agreement that the schools are being pressured to sign, at least in terms of what's being threatened, on penalty of being ejected from their conferences, is an agreement that says we will act in accordance and compliance with the clearinghouse, even if there's a state law in the books that says we don't have to. And it's a way of the power conferences trying to get a hold of the NIL piece of this and try to regulate the NIL market at least somewhat. And the thing is, at least as this is maybe a borderline for me between analysis and opinion. I kind of see both sides. On the one hand, there is a lot of recent legal precedent that tells me that making the argument that an NIL clearinghouse run by the NCAA with the help of Deloitte, supported by the conferences, is still going to struggle to make a legally defensible argument for what it's trying to do. And a lot of these states' laws, I think, are maybe trying to preempt some of that and say, if we just get out ahead of this, then there won't be drawn out legal challenges. And maybe maybe we can start to create a bit more of a legal framework. Now, some of it is just we want our teams to be the best, so we're just going to pass laws that say, whatever. But there is kind of an argument in that direction. On the other hand, there is also an argument in the direction of, at a certain point, we have to find a way to regulate some of this. And I don't, when you say regulate, I think a lot of people think congressional action, and that may come. I'm skeptical. Every 6 months we do one of these, every 3 months really, we do one of these hearings in Congress, and everybody just gets up and says, "Go Dogs," and nothing really gets accomplished. It has become performative. It feels like more than productive, and that is frankly a criticism of both sides of the aisle on the issue. But congressional action may yet happen. When I mean regulation, what I mean is just like we can't live in a world where the NIL dollar just has to keep climbing up and up and up and up every single year. That's not how pro sports work. Pro sports come to a place where everyone broadly agrees upon the parameters of, this is the amount of money the league has. This is how we split it between the owners and the players. That is represented somehow, whether it's a luxury tax or a salary cap or whatever. And then it's up to the individual teams how they spend that money. Do you want to spend it on these players? Do you want to go into the luxury tax? Do you want to, do you prioritize a quarterback? Do you prioritize a point guard? Do you prioritize football or basketball or whatever? We can't live in a world where you're asking athletics departments to shunt tens of millions of dollars, increasing annually, to NIL, while also paying athletes through revenue sharing, and expect that we're not going to start cutting sports en masse, that we're not going to start seeing conferences collapse under the weight of that financial strain, that we are not going to essentially, just crush college athletics. And that's a bit dramatic, but there has to be a happy medium here. And that's why I say I do see both sides of this coin a little bit, frankly, in terms of some of these, some of the argument against the clearinghouse is legitimate. And I don't really think if we took it to court as it's currently constructed, I don't think it would take like the world's best lawyer to make an argument against it. But on the other hand, that space does need some sort of restriction. We need to create some sort of reasonable kind of stability within the NIL space. It's not like, the Indianapolis Colts are not going to, Merchants Bank of Indiana and saying, we need you to funnel $10 million to our nickel corner so we don't have to pay him, a fair market contract. They're just paying the player. It can't work like that forever in college athletics. At a certain point, that market collapses on itself. And that's where I think the next step in this is going to be figuring out a way to create an agreeable medium between all of these different competing factors.
Yeah, and that's the issue, is trying to get to that point, because on one side you can get the schools probably to agree a lot easier than the opposite side, which has so many different people, different hands, different representations, and all of that. What is up next for you?
Just back for a week. Probably going to write. Probably will wind up writing a little bit on this issue that we've been talking about that I just gave you way too long of an answer about. I apologize.
No, it's perfect.
And then, this is kind of the last really properly quiet time. Once we get the other side of July 4th, things really do start to kind of gear up toward media days. And then I expect, Indiana's fall camp to start just a little earlier this year, just based on the vagaries of the calendar. So I think fall camp probably breaks end of July, nearer the end of July than the beginning of August. And then at that point we're on the run, and so, it was really starting to work ahead towards some stuff for both seasons. And, I think we've all got one eye on Puerto Rico, and I'll probably still take a little more time off, but yeah.
Looking forward to it, brother. Well, welcome back, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.
Absolutely, and thanks for moving me around. Sorry about the.
Hey, man, it worked out great. We appreciate you very much. Zach Osterman, the Indiana Star and beat writer for the Indy Star for IU Athletics. That's going to wrap it up for us today. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you for joining us, no matter how you did. And we're back on Monday, but make sure you go to thehoosier.com over the weekend for updates on what is going on through that. And if you don't have a subscription, get one. You're missing out. Looking forward to being back on Monday. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.